Alarms sliced through the air, vibrating Captain Lyra Voss's chest with each piercing note. Her fingers dug into the cold metal railing as the command deck shuddered violently beneath her boots. A second later, the tactical screens flashed red, displaying yet another sector crumbling under enemy bombardment. Sector 14 compromised, a panicked voice echoed from tactical. Hull breaches on decks 6 and 7. We've lost another 50 crew. Lyra clenched her jaw, tasting bitterness. 50 more lives. 50 dreams extinguished in an instant. Her eyes flickered briefly toward the main viewport, where fiery blooms erupted silently against the dark void. Beyond it, the Archon Dominion fleet loomed, countless metallic beasts shimmering cruelly under Valora Prime's failing shields. How much longer can we hold? Her voice was calm, controlled, masking her mounting dread. 30 minutes at best, Captain, answered Lieutenant Caro grimly. We're down to reserve power. Shields are barely above critical. Life support won't last another hour. Lyra exhaled sharply, aware every officer on the bridge waited anxiously for her orders. Yet no words formed. The usual determination she'd wielded so effortlessly now slipped through her fingers like water. Captain? Caro pressed gently, snapping Lyra back to the suffocating reality of their doomed struggle. She nodded slowly, pulling herself upright. We have no choice left. Open the restricted comm channel and transmit. Caro froze mid-motion, his face contorted in confusion. Captain, the human frequency? Is that wise? Lyra fixed him with an unwavering glare, cutting through any further doubt. Wise stopped being relevant the moment Admiral Zorak brought his ships into our space. Do it. Caro nodded stiffly, fingers tapping rapidly against his panel. Seconds later, a static-laced voice echoed through the tense silence. This is Ghost, the voice drawled lazily. You finally ready for my help, or are we still pretending humans can't fight? A ripple of unease spread among the crew at the casual arrogance in Ghost's words. Lyra straightened, forcing authority into her tone. This is Captain Voss of Valora Prime. We're under siege by the Archon Dominion. If humanity has a weapon, strategy, or miracle, now is the moment. Ghost chuckled quietly. Oh, miracles are my specialty. Be there shortly. The channel closed abruptly, leaving silence thicker than before. Lyra's irritation warred briefly with curiosity, the humans' bravado an uncomfortable match for their dire need. Moments later, sensors beeped urgently. Caro turned sharply. Captain, a single vessel emerging from hyperspace, human make, heavily modified. Just one, she murmured skeptically, eyes narrowing. The sleek ship burst into view, effortlessly evading the bombardment patterns devastating the station. In a maneuver that defied logic, Ghost docked seamlessly with Valora Prime, seconds before enemy missiles struck precisely where he had flown. A low murmur rippled through the crew, astonishment puncturing their hopelessness. A shadow filled the entryway as Ghost strode confidently onto the bridge. Tall, lean, clad in worn armor marked by countless battles, his face was partially obscured by a helmet visor reflecting the bridge lights. He carried himself casually, entirely at odds with their grim circumstances. So, he drawled, voice resonant and annoyingly relaxed, who here wants to save the station? Lieutenant Caro tensed visibly, whispering, he's insane. Or incredibly confident, Lyra replied softly, intrigued despite herself. Louder, she addressed Ghost directly. We're losing this fight. What can one human do that our entire fleet couldn't? Ghost laughed quietly, pushing a small device onto the holographic display. Blueprints and battle plans flooded the screens, sophisticated yet oddly simple. Archons rely on predictable patterns, Captain. You fight defensively, waiting to lose. I fight unpredictably, like humans. Lyra studied the intricate tactics, eyes widening slowly. They were radical, dangerously bold, but brilliant in their simplicity. Her skepticism faltered slightly, shifting toward reluctant curiosity. You believe this can work? Ghost tilted his head slightly, helmet hiding his eyes but not his confidence. It'll work. You just have to trust me. She paused, conflicted. Trust was earned in blood and battle, something this mysterious human hadn't yet done. Yet she was out of options, and stubborn pride offered little protection against annihilation. She nodded finally, extending her hand. Then we'll follow your lead. Don't disappoint us. Never do, Ghost said firmly, gripping her hand briefly. For a fleeting moment, Lyra sensed warmth beneath his battle-hardened exterior, a human softness she'd never anticipated. He turned sharply to Caro. Relay my orders exactly. Ignore fear and hesitation. You hesitate once, we're finished. Caro nodded quickly, the doubt in his eyes slowly replaced by cautious hope. Around them, the crew came alive, activity erupting in every station as Ghost's instructions cascaded through the decks. Lyra watched silently, intrigued by the efficiency with which the human moved, the confidence he inspired, even among hardened veterans who barely knew him. As the ship trembled violently beneath another barrage, Lyra glanced again toward Ghost. He stood perfectly still, seemingly unaffected by the chaos erupting around him. What made you answer? She asked quietly, stepping closer. You had no reason to help us. Ghost paused momentarily, turning his reflective visor slightly toward her. We always have reasons, Captain. Maybe we're not as primitive or selfish as everyone believes. She held his gaze for a silent beat. Prove it. Watch me, he replied simply, voice strangely earnest beneath the bravado. Lyra returned to the command post, bracing herself against a fresh wave of explosions. Ghost's orders spread swiftly, his unconventional tactics breathing new hope into her exhausted crew. Outside, the Archon fleet hesitated, surprised by the sudden shift in tactics. Their confusion quickly transformed into cautious aggression, recalibrating their weapons for the unexpected threat posed by one human mind. Captain Voss leaned forward, determination surging anew. Against her better judgment, trust began to take root, trust in Ghost, trust in humanity. For the first time in days, survival felt within grasp. Prepare for counterattack, she commanded sharply. Beside her, Ghost's faint smile glinted beneath his visor. Humans, she thought, as another explosion rocked the station. Perhaps underestimated, perhaps misunderstood, but definitely not primitive. The battle had truly begun. Ghost moved like a shadow across the chaotic bridge, his fingers rapidly dancing over consoles, overriding safety protocols and reassigning entire defensive grids. Captain Lyra Voss watched closely, unable to hide her growing astonishment at how easily the human-manipulated systems her crew had studied their entire lives. Is this madness or genius? Lieutenant Caro murmured, eyes wide as data cascaded rapidly across screens in unfamiliar patterns. Both, Lyra replied, her voice quiet but firm. Maybe that's precisely what we need right now. She stepped cautiously closer to Ghost, who remained entirely focused on his work. Explain this tactic clearly, she demanded softly, maintaining authority but allowing genuine curiosity to bleed through. If I'm risking lives, I must understand why. Ghost paused briefly, tilting his helmeted head toward her. Archons calculate every move logically. Their minds are machines. Predictable. We'll force them to adapt, something they're notoriously terrible at. And this, chaos, helps us? Lyra questioned skeptically. Ghost tapped one gloved finger against the console, his voice lowering conspiratorially. Their weapons lock on precise energy signatures. I've randomized shield frequencies every 5 seconds. They'll keep recalibrating endlessly. They're already hesitating, Captain. A sudden explosion rattled Valora Prime violently, knocking crew members off balance. Ghost barely flinched, merely stabilizing himself casually against a railing. His voice remained steady. See? Frustration breeds mistakes. Lieutenant Caro scanned sensor readings frantically, eyes widening. He's right. Dominion fighters are pulling back slightly. Ghost smirked beneath his visor. Now, we strike. His fingers stabbed rapidly into controls, opening hidden launch bays. Small drone-like craft, primitive by alien standards, streaked from Valora Prime, zigzagging unpredictably toward the enemy fleet. At first, Archons ignored them, dismissing their simplicity. Then the drones detonated, blinding, electromagnetic bursts rippling outward. Alien ships floundered immediately, lights flickering, briefly frozen in confused paralysis. Lyra stared, momentarily speechless. Those drones. EMP charges, Ghost explained quickly. Archon tech loves precision. Hit their systems randomly, and they panic. Outside the viewport, the Dominion formation momentarily faltered. Yet, Admiral Zorak quickly adjusted, reforming his ranks, shields flashing brighter as they compensated. Ghost growled softly, tension bleeding through his calm demeanor. Zorak learns fast. We need a bigger distraction. You have something else? Lyra pressed urgently. Ghost tilted his visor toward her sharply. Maybe. Something risky. Do it, she commanded instantly, sensing hesitation would doom them all. He nodded once, respect growing subtly in his stance. I'll need full access to your main power core. Caro immediately protested, voice tight with worry. Captain, that's extraordinarily dangerous. He could destroy us accidentally. Ghost turned slowly toward the lieutenant, his voice edged with mild irritation. You called me because conventional thinking failed. Do you want conventional, or do you want victory? Caro's face flushed briefly, then he nodded reluctantly. I'll grant full access. Ghost immediately sprinted toward engineering, Lyra matching his swift pace down dim corridors filled with alarms and anxious crew. The human moved effortlessly, driven by something deeply internal, an intensity she'd seldom witnessed. Why risk yourself for strangers? Lyra finally demanded, struggling to keep up. This isn't your fight. Ghost stopped abruptly at a heavy blast door, looking back briefly at her, voice subdued. Humans fought alone once, ignored and ridiculed by other races. We learned isolation brings nothing but suffering. Unity, even fragile, means hope. Lyra absorbed his words silently, the sincerity behind them resonating deeper than she anticipated. He punched commands into the blast door, which hissed open, revealing the humming heart of the station, Valora Prime's colossal energy core glowing in unsettling azure. Ghost stepped forward confidently, swiftly linking his own technology into the core's control panels. His movements were deft, precise, despite the overwhelming power thrumming inches from him. What exactly are you doing? Lyra asked, fascinated yet wary. Channeling excess energy directly through your defense grid. Instead of absorbing Archon fire, you'll redirect it back at them, Ghost explained rapidly. Their own weapons will devastate their fleet. Lyra paled. That's unprecedented. Could the station survive that? Ghost exhaled sharply. Barely. Outside, the battle intensified. Admiral Zorak's ships closed in, sensing vulnerability. Ghost's hands moved faster, sweat dripping from beneath his helmet as alarms screamed in protest. Lyra silently admired the stubborn determination radiating from him, risking everything for aliens who doubted humanity. The station trembled violently under renewed bombardment. Ghost steadied himself, eyes narrowing beneath his visor. Almost done, he muttered fiercely. Prepare yourself. An agonizing vibration surged through the walls as the core pulsed dangerously. Suddenly, the entire station shuddered with a surge of redirected energy. Lyra's heart pounded wildly, watching through shaking screens as Archon cruisers recoiled under the intensity of their own reflected firepower. Cheers erupted across the intercom channels. Caro's voice crackled enthusiastically. It's working. Enemy fleet severely damaged, retreating. Ghost sighed heavily, fingers shaking slightly as he stepped back from the controls, exhaustion evident in his posture. It bought us time, he murmured grimly, but Zorak will retaliate harder. Lyra steadied herself, turning resolutely toward him. Then we'll be ready. He tilted his helmet toward her, voice softening slightly. Together? She nodded firmly, feeling genuine respect replacing former skepticism. Together. Their brief moment of triumph shattered suddenly when sensors wailed urgently. Admiral Zorak's flagship, menacingly huge, dark as space itself, emerged from behind the wreckage of its fleet. Weapon ports glowed ominously. Ghost straightened immediately, determination tightening every muscle. He's coming himself. Then he's desperate, Lyra observed sharply. That's our advantage. Ghost nodded quietly, resolve returning swiftly. Then let's use it. As alarms shrieked anew, and crew scrambled frantically into battle stations, Ghost met Lyra's eyes with a surprising depth of trust. You were right, she confessed softly, humans are nothing we imagined. Ghost's quiet laugh resonated, filled with gentle irony. Wait until you see how we finish this. The station trembled again, Zorak's flagship approaching relentlessly, its guns primed and lethal. Yet, amid mounting desperation, a strange certainty grew between them, a bond forged in struggle, an alliance born from respect. They stood together, prepared to face the storm. Valora Prime groaned beneath the ruthless advance of Admiral Zorak's flagship, darkness and fire reflected ominously off its obsidian hull. Lyra stood rigidly at the helm, fingers trembling subtly against cold metal. Beside her, Ghost remained utterly still, tension visible in the stiff line of his jaw beneath his helmet. The Dominion demands surrender, Zorak's voice thundered arrogantly through their comms, a low growl echoing through the bridge. Defiance guarantees annihilation. Lyra's grip tightened on the railing, determination igniting in her eyes. Your arrogance blinds you, Admiral. Retreat now or face humiliation. Zorak's laughter, cold and sinister, rippled back. Words from the defeated mean little. Then why bother listening? Ghost interjected calmly, voice laced with sharp contempt. Afraid of a single human? Zorak's silence betrayed brief uncertainty. Ghost pressed harder. You attacked because you feared humanity's unpredictability. Admit it. Humans are irrelevant, Zorak snarled viciously. Your deaths are inevitable. The comm snapped closed. Lyra faced Ghost, intensity flaring. He's desperate. That makes him dangerous, Ghost replied, instantly tapping a sequence into the holographic display. We need to provoke his anger into mistakes. How? Lieutenant Caro questioned anxiously. By challenging his pride directly, Ghost said sharply, plotting rapid coordinates. Launch a direct attack on his flagship, unshielded drones first, followed by your heaviest guns. Provoke his fury, make him chase us recklessly. Lyra nodded decisively. Do it. Immediately. Caro relayed commands rapidly, unease giving way to purposeful urgency. Dozens of drones launched instantly, streaking boldly toward the massive Archon vessel. Admiral Zorak dismissed their feeble attack initially, letting small explosions ripple harmlessly against reinforced hull plating. His shields aren't raised fully, Ghost said urgently. He's underestimating us again. Lyra quickly saw their advantage. All cannons fire, now! Energy erupted violently from Valora Prime, impacting the Dominion flagship in brilliant arcs. Explosions tore into the colossal vessel, briefly illuminating space in vibrant, chaotic bursts. Zorak's shields activated too late, his furious reaction instantaneous. The massive flagship accelerated aggressively toward them, guns blazing. Brace! Ghost shouted, gripping the railing tightly. A powerful blast shook the station, sending sparks cascading across the bridge. Lyra stumbled briefly, quickly regaining her balance. Shields barely holding, Caro shouted, fear flickering behind his disciplined facade. Redirect remaining power from non-critical systems, Ghost commanded instantly. Force him closer, he's vulnerable at short range. How certain are you? Lyra demanded urgently. Ghost's reply carried unwavering confidence. Enough to bet our lives. Lyra hesitated for just a breath, then nodded resolutely. Execute immediately. Lights dimmed across the station, funneling energy into defensive systems. Zorak's flagship surged closer, sensing apparent weakness. His ship's cores exposed briefly when charging weapons, Ghost explained rapidly. We strike exactly then. You noticed that? Lyra asked, admiration breaking through her tension. Ghost smiled faintly, unseen but audible. Humans notice weaknesses first. It's survival. On screen, sensors flashed warnings as Zorak's cannons glowed menacingly, charging for a devastating strike. Timing was critical, heartbeat precise. Steady, Ghost whispered, voice strained with anticipation. The enemy's weapons ignited fiercely, about to unleash catastrophic force. Fire! Ghost roared. A piercing beam burst forth from Valora Prime, searing brilliantly through space, striking the Dominion flagship's vulnerable core at its briefest exposure. A blinding flash overwhelmed sensors, the flagship shuddering violently under internal detonations. Cheers erupted instantly around the bridge, crew briefly overwhelmed by relief. Lyra's shoulders relaxed slightly, her pulse thunderous with hope. Yet, victory was fleeting. The comm crackled ominously, Zorak's furious, broken growl slicing through celebrations. Enjoy your brief triumph. My end ensures yours. Ghost's eyes narrowed sharply, dread surging visibly. He's self-destructing. Lyra spun rapidly toward the sensors, confirming instantly. The enemy vessel's power surged dangerously, energy readings spiraling uncontrollably. Can we survive it? She demanded desperately. Ghost exhaled tensely. Only if we neutralize his reactor from within. Lyra's eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible. Ghost's voice hardened grimly. Not for a human. She stared silently, realization dawning. You'll never escape. Someone has to ensure humanity isn't underestimated again, Ghost replied simply, voice gentle yet utterly resolute. Lyra's throat tightened. Respect and anguish roared briefly in her chest. Don't sacrifice yourself. Ghost chuckled softly, courage thickening his voice. Sacrifice defines us. Humanity never learned to quit. She nodded solemnly, understanding deeply. Then humanity earns our respect forever. He saluted sharply, sincerity heavy in his tone. It's been an honor, Captain. Likewise, Ghost, Lyra whispered, fighting back emotion. Thank you. Without further hesitation, Ghost sprinted from the bridge, disappearing swiftly toward his ship. Seconds later, his sleek craft burst from Valora Prime's docking bay, racing fearlessly toward Zorak's rapidly destabilizing flagship. The crew watched breathlessly, helpless but awed by his courage. Ghost maneuvered gracefully, slipping inside the damaged vessel's hull just before explosions engulfed its outer plating. Silence blanketed the bridge, heavy, aching. Lyra clenched her fists tightly, pulse pounding painfully in her ears. Seconds felt like eternity. Then, a searing eruption obliterated Zorak's flagship from within, fire blooming spectacularly, swallowing everything. The shockwave rocked Valora Prime viciously, throwing everyone briefly off balance. As sensors cleared slowly, nothing remained of Ghost or Admiral Zorak, just drifting debris scattered across empty space. A quiet, reverent hush lingered. Lyra straightened slowly, heart heavy yet filled profoundly with gratitude. Ghost's sacrifice resonated deeply, echoing silently through every soul aboard. Lieutenant Caro finally broke the silence, voice filled with solemn admiration. Humanity is extraordinary. Lyra nodded slowly, eyes locked on the empty space where Ghost had disappeared bravely. They always were. Valora Prime survived, battered yet defiant, forged anew in courage and respect. Captain Voss stared into the infinite darkness, now forever changed by humanity's selfless valor. Ghost's sacrifice bound species together, teaching humility, respect, and unity. It was a legacy more powerful than conquest, a quiet triumph only humanity could achieve. And Lyra silently vowed, watching stars shimmer gently beyond scattered debris, humanity's sacrifice would never be forgotten. Captain Lyra Voss stood silently at the wide viewport overlooking the shattered remnants of Admiral Zorak's flagship. Shards of twisted metal drifted gently through empty space, glowing softly in the distant starlight. Yet, among the debris, her gaze searched for any trace, any whisper of the human known simply as Ghost. But there was only silence, vast and unforgiving. Lieutenant Caro approached carefully, sensing her quiet grief. He hesitated before speaking softly. "Captain, the Council is requesting a status update. They await your official report." Lyra nodded slowly, drawing in a breath to steady herself. "Tell them, it's over. Admiral Zorak is defeated. The Archon Dominion's threat is broken, for now." "And Ghost?" Caro pressed gently. Her throat tightened. "Report him as fallen. Honorably." Caro paused briefly. "Humans won't accept vague answers. They'll demand details." "Then tell them everything," Lyra replied firmly. "His courage, his sacrifice. Humanity deserves to know what their warrior did today." Caro bowed slightly, his voice respectful. "I'll ensure the truth reaches them." As he departed, Lyra's eyes drifted again into the cold depths outside. Ghost's words lingered stubbornly in her mind, echoes of humanity's resilience, their unyielding spirit. She had misjudged them severely, dismissing their worth until a human proved otherwise, challenging every assumption she'd carried. A sudden, sharp chime interrupted her contemplation. "Captain," a young technician called urgently from communications, eyes wide, disbelief coloring his voice. "We're picking up an emergency distress beacon." Lyra turned quickly, brow knitted in confusion. "Archon survivors?" "No," he replied, voice shaking slightly. "Human." Her heart surged instantly. "Where?" "On the edge of the debris field," he confirmed, astonishment brightening his tone. "It's faint, but the signal reads clearly, Ghost's personal identification." Hope, irrational but fierce, surged within her chest. "Deploy rescue teams immediately. I want him found. Now." "Already launching," the technician affirmed, fingers flying deftly across the controls. Minutes dragged into eternity, anxiety building steadily until the communication panel sparked to life again. A strained but familiar voice filtered weakly through static-laced speakers. "Anyone out there feel like picking me up?" Ghost's exhausted tones still carried unmistakable humor, prompting relieved laughter around the bridge. "Ghost," Lyra replied quickly, relief overwhelming composure briefly. "Status report?" "Alive," he answered wryly, sounding both weary and amused. "Barely. Zorak didn't make things easy." The crew erupted into cheers, tension dissipating instantly, replaced by vibrant joy. Lyra's shoulders finally relaxed, allowing herself a small, genuine smile. Less than an hour later, Ghost staggered carefully onto the bridge, helmet removed for the first time, revealing a ruggedly handsome face scarred deeply by battles past. Dark eyes, intelligent yet weary, met Lyra's directly, conveying silent respect and gratitude. She stepped forward warmly, extending a hand. "Welcome back." He grasped it firmly, smiling faintly. "Didn't plan on leaving yet." "I noticed," she replied lightly, though sincerity marked every word. "Your people will be proud." Ghost laughed quietly, almost shyly. "Proud isn't always humanity's first reaction. But I appreciate the thought." She led him gently toward the observation deck, quieter and private, where stars provided peaceful, distant companionship. Ghost moved stiffly, clearly wounded, yet pride stubbornly disguised the pain. "You saved us," she stated earnestly, voice barely above a whisper. "We saved each other," Ghost corrected softly, eyes serious yet kind. "Unity wins wars, Captain, not individuals." Lyra watched him thoughtfully, her gaze softer than she allowed others to witness. "I underestimated humans completely. Your courage, it changed how we see you." Ghost's smile faded slightly, deep emotion surfacing quietly. "For centuries, humans struggled alone, considered primitive or reckless. All we ever wanted was acceptance. Respect. Not dominance, not conquest, just recognition. Today you have it," she assured him passionately. "You earned it, Ghost. Humanity will never again be overlooked." Ghost gazed quietly outward, contemplative. "I hope it lasts. Memories fade quickly. Gratitude has limits." Lyra shook her head gently, confident resolve evident. Not this time. We remember sacrifice. We honor courage. He nodded quietly, exhaustion finally breaking through. Then today truly meant something. More than you know, she agreed warmly. 2 days later, as Ghost prepared his battered ship for departure, the docking bay filled slowly with personnel, all species mixed together respectfully. Quiet reverence defined the mood, subtle gratitude exchanged silently. Captain Voss approached Ghost as he finished final adjustments, offering a small ceremonial badge etched elegantly with symbols of courage and unity. "This is yours," she explained simply. "Symbolizing our alliance. Carry it proudly." Ghost accepted gently, examining it with quiet appreciation. "Humanity will treasure this." "So will we," she assured him earnestly. "You changed everything." Ghost smiled warmly, sincerity evident. "We merely reminded everyone courage isn't limited to species or technology. Bravery lies deeper, in unity, compassion, and sacrifice." Lyra nodded slowly, eyes reflecting newfound understanding. "A lesson we'll never forget." He paused thoughtfully, then held out a small data drive, expression somber yet hopeful. "Take this. It contains coordinates to humanity's worlds, diplomatic channels open permanently. Visit whenever you're ready." She accepted carefully, voice thick with emotion. "We'll come, I promise. Allies, always." Ghost nodded warmly, stepping aboard his ship, glancing back once more. "Until then, Captain Voss." "Until then," she agreed softly. The vessel lifted gracefully, engines humming quietly before streaking outward swiftly into open space, vanishing into the infinite dark. As silence returned, Lyra stood motionless, clutching Ghost's small token tightly, its symbolic weight comforting. Valora Prime had survived, alliances strengthened, new bonds forged. Humanity was finally understood, respected, and welcomed into the galactic community, not through conquest, but through sacrifice and bravery. She smiled quietly, turning to her crew confidently. "The galaxy changed today. Humanity's courage will echo forever." They nodded solemnly, pride and respect shimmering openly, unity binding them stronger than ever before. Ghost had departed, but the lessons learned remained permanently, redefining their understanding of courage, sacrifice, and humanity itself.